Welcome back to Metal Gear RC, and we're here in the Wrenching RC garage, and today I have the Axial RBX10 RYFT here with me. Now, I want to tell you about my experience with the RYFT, and this is the kit version. So if you follow me on Instagram, link in the description below if you want to see the progress I did with it of putting it together, painting it. I went with metal panels instead of the plastic one that came with it. But I did want to keep this as close as to the original kit as it is, that it comes with all the parts, except for the fact that I went with the Borderlands theme. And I got this truck and I wanted to get ready for BTC 2023. Beat the Creek, for those that don't know what BTC is. Now, let's go over what I did with this rig to get it ready and what came with the kit and what I changed up, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it. Let's start with the transmission. Now, the kit comes with a single speed and 2-speed, all the parts you need to configure it for either or. And being the fact that I wanted this for a trail crawling, rock crawling, scale rock bouncing, because I pride myself on driving all my RCs as scale as possible, I went ahead and I went with the 2-speed transmission, because if I remember correct, you can tell me in the comments below if I'm not right, the single speed and the high speed gears are the same gear ratio. And I wanted to gear it down to get that low crawl speed. So I went with the 2-speed, and I did have some issues with it. I wasn't too happy about Axial not correcting it in the manual or giving some heads up of what to do. But through some of the forums and YouTube videos, I came to a conclusion of what I wanted to do to fix it. And I will go into depth what I did, both with the transmission and the micro servo, how I set it up to get it to work flawlessly. Now, I did go with a basher motor, the same size motor I have in my Tamiya TXT1 monster truck, being the fact that this thing is slightly smaller than a monster truck at a 1/10 scale. I knew that motor would fit in here and work for BTC, but it's a high-speed motor. And I did try the 17 tube that came with it, and it was in the high gear. This thing would spin the tires so fast that it was ballooning and coming off the rims. So I went ahead and got the 13 tube pinion gear. It's the smallest one for the setup on the transmission. I think I've heard someone putting a 12 tube, but I didn't want to risk it. I wanted the right spacing, so I went with a 13 tube with that motor, and it got me a decent crawl speed with that motor, which then later on, after BTC, I went ahead and I got the Hobbywing Fusion Pro, the 2-in-1 ESC motor. It's the 3200 kV. This one, love it in the truck. Definitely gets me that low end, especially if you're seeing it on Instagram. You've seen me with it showing off the crawl speed and the power that it has in it on this rig. Now, I will go, like I said, I'll go into more detail about the transmission in another video, but I did put the 13 tube, and I'm running that, the Fusion Pro now. Love it. Great setup. Enough power for this rig, enough power. But the downside is in high gear, and if you are planning on doing bash, that ESC gets hot. And even in my previous a basher motor. It's a 60 amp ESC that mounted up here. That ESC would get hot. The motor would stay cool. It would get warm, but it was perfect temperature. But the ESC gets hot because of the amount of current that is drawing through, running on a 3S battery. Now, being that the ESC is mounted with the motor together, that motor gets hot. And in high gear, doing some high pass and running around with it, it was getting hot. I never triggered the high temp where it shut off, but it would get hot to the point where I couldn't touch it more than a couple seconds, and that's hot. That's a little dangerous hot for the motor. So I definitely don't recommend that one. I have my eye on another one, and I'll put it on the screen here. And I think this would be a perfect motor for a setup, and the way I have this thing set up. And I will go into detail how I have this set up for crawling and rock bouncing. And it's very interesting how I have it set up, but it works. I don't use drag brake, but I still can crawl going up and down hills without worrying about this thing rolling. And like I said, I'll go more into details about that setup in another video. So let's move outward. Oh, before I go any further, it does come with a differential for the transmission, as well it comes with a locker for the center diff in the transmission. I went ahead and put the locker in there because I wanted the equal power to front and rear axles. So let's go to the axles. Now, it comes with differentials in the front and rear. And for BTC, I went ahead and I ran the grease that came for the differentials. And it's pretty thick, almost peanut butter style grease. It gives you the characteristic of being a limited slip differential. But the downside to it is when that grease gets hot, it's like an open diff. One tire will spin. And it definitely provided some challenge for BTC, but I still had fun. It performed beautifully, except for the fact that I wish I had the Hobby Wing Fusion Pro that I have now. Now, talking about what I did to fix that issue, instead of putting a diff lock in here, which I'll tell more why I didn't put a diff in here, is I've been wanting to try it, is the silicone earplugs. Now I packed the silicone earplugs into the diff, which give you the characteristic of a lock differential, but it slips. And if I show you it, I gotta put some pressure in here to make this thing turn to diff. Like it's even getting tighter now, just doing it. I definitely notice a difference in my turn radius when I put it in there. It's just like you would lock it. This thing acts like it's locked when it's driving. The turn radius definitely got a lot wider because it drives locked. But the upside to it is the fact, using the earplugs, is this tire here got wedged between a rock and a log, and I didn't realize it, and I was trying to get over the obstacle, and with the power and torque of this motor, I throttled down on it to try to go over it, and the 3 tires turned except for that one, and as soon as I realized it, I let go. And I noticed how much this was stuck. And thinking about the power, I would have shredded this tire, or I would have broke something in this drive chain from the power of that torque and this being stuck like it was. So I would have to definitely say, for what I do with it, I like that I didn't go with the locking diff and I went with the earplugs. it saved my drive chain. Saved it. Happy about that. Okay, the other thing that is downside to this rig here is, even though it doesn't look like it, it is top heavy. Now, when I was running the bashing motor, it had a separate ESC that I mounted up here. That added some weight. It would roll over real easily. After putting the Fusion Pro, it kind of helped. Not very noticeable, but it did help with lowering the weight. The other thing I did to help with the weight, which it was noticeable, but it's still not close to perfection, is I flipped the shocks upside down. Like I said, it's noticeable. It's noticeable, and it helps. And I will let you know that if you do flip the back ones, the plastic back here, because it's very tight, it will dig into that plastic there. And if you are using aluminum lower arms on here, you might have to grind away some of the metal so it can fit in there properly. But besides that, it works really good. It helps lower the center of gravity, and it doesn't flip over as easy. Now, I love these rims. These they're 2.2 rims that comes with the tires, and I'm gonna show you how big these tires are. But I wish these were B-lock rims, because I would have put weight in here, and because I was in a hurry trying to get ready for BTC, I didn't want to go through the hassle of putting weight in here, pulling, trying different setups. So I glued them with no weights in there. But like I said, I wanted to keep this thing as close to stock as possible to give people a really good idea of how awesome this truck is, or what I think about the truck, which as of now, I'm thinking this was awesome rig. So this thing does need a lot more weight lowered in. And I've been looking around, and I believe I found some brass steering knuckles for the front, and some brass weights. That this comes with some disc brakes. They're plastic, and it's all for aesthetics. And that you could take off that, and the brass weight that comes, it kind of looks like the disc brake that comes with the truck, but I think it will be a performance change for this truck. Even if you're a basher, I think it'll be a performance change, being that you're not putting the weight on the wheel, but you're putting the weight on the axle, so you're not putting any more stress on your drive chain. And this back end is very light. Now, I've put this in reverse, mashed the gas, and this thing will flip over, land on its top, and you got to flip it back over. So the back end is really light, and I definitely want to get the weight for the back. I'll probably get that one first, test it out, and then if I need more weight in the front, I would probably go ahead and get those steering knuckles for the front. But like I said, I'm going to try the back ones first and let y'all know what I think about it. So, oh, I almost forgot to add this in the video, so I'm doing it now. Look at the height of this monster truck tire. This is from my Tamiya TX-T1 monster truck tire, and I believe it's the same size tire as the Clod Buster. Now, it's noticeably a lot narrow, but it's so close to being the same height. I want to say it's like somewhere between an 1/8 to a 1/4 inch difference. And I have no issues with going over stuff with these tires. I mean, I'm hardly ever hitting anything on the diff box of this axle. So let me get back to the video. Just wanted to add this in to show you can see how big it is. So back to the video. This truck handles awesome on the trail. And that to the point where this is now my go-to rig, especially when I am scouting out new trails. And this one definitely gives me an idea of how my other trucks will perform on that trail, or even if it could perform. Logs that are less than the center wheel length, I find this rig goes right over it, no problem. Anything anything higher than that, it needs a little assistance. Like, I think I could probably put a winch on here for, especially for scale driving. And I've tested it where I just put a little pressure right here. Like if I had a winch had a light tension pulling down on it, and just with the power and torque of the motor and the tires, it would go right over the log, no problems. That I'm even thinking about putting a winch on this thing for scale crawling. But if you want something for scale rock crawling, and you might want something a little bit bigger, a little more beefier on here to actually handle the weight of the truck. So overall, after I got over all the issues, I'm loving it. It's, like I said, my go-to trail truck. I love everything, and especially what I've done to it, like putting the fog lights on here. I got it on front, back, and up front here too. So I have 360-degree light. For the pins up here, I would definitely suggest doing something similar. I have O-rings on here, so when I unpin to get to the battery, I have these O-rings that just mount on to the back side of the shock, where the shock mounts onto. So I don't lose the pin. I can just pop it out, not worry about it going anywhere. Get to my battery, flip it down, grab the pin, hook it back up. Something I did kind of more for my own convenience. What else? I think that's about everything that I want to do. Like I said, I might upgrade the motor. As of now, I love it for what it is. I do want to put weight in the back, and if that's not enough, I might put weight in the front. Everything I'm using on this truck, I'll put it in the link. I'll put the links in the description below. It's affiliate links, so if you want to help me out, check them out. If you purchase from the links, it helps me out. No cost to you. So if you like my video, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos on this rig or any of my other RC adventures, please hit the subscribe button. And thanks for watching. Until next time,